We started the hour with the conspiracy theories that Rudy Giuliani is peddling. But it's not just Rudy. It goes all the way to the White House. And joining us now to explain is NBC News reporter Ben Collins. Ben's new piece is a forensic analysis of how a conspiracy theory ended up being at the center of an impeachment investigation. So, Ben, tell us about the so-called insurance policy and how it made its way to the Oval Office.
Sure. So the insurance policy is this theory that has been pushed by Sean Hannity mostly, but also places like The Hill, places like Breitbart, places like Red State. And the goal of it is to say that the DNC, just bear with me here, the DNC hacked itself. So just in case in 2019, if Donald Trump got elected in 2019, they could impeach him. That's the premise of this conspiracy theory. And that's why you see these sort of globetrotting missions from AG Barr, from Secretary Pompeo and things like that. They're trying to retroactively fit evidence to fit this conspiracy theory, because if Russia didn't hack the DNC, who did it? And in its stead is this Illuminati-like thing. It's like a global cabal, and it's the deep state. And they think that, you know, Joe Biden and Barack Obama and the Ukrainian ambassador were all up to it, and they put up this company called CrowdStrike, which was at the time a $3 billion company. They said that they put them up to it to frame the Russians, which is, again, this is completely bonkers. It's been debunked at every step. But the point of it is to absolve the Russians and to make it look like this deep state thing goes much deeper than you'd ever imagine.
So, Ben, this is a fascinating story, as always, from you. And we're looking at how thin the barrier is between the fever swamp and the White House when it comes to these matters. Tell us what you know about how these details traveled from 4chan to the president's lawyer to TV.
Sure. So these started on niche blogs, basically. There were forged documents that made it look like Russia couldn't have hacked the DNC. These have already been debunked. The metadata in the files show that they were made basically right before the blog post happened. But then these traveled around on 4chan, which is that anonymous message board that is tied to basically far-right extremism, and its sister site 8chan as well. That started there. It sort of percolates up, goes to things like Reddit, goes to influencers on Twitter, and then from there it goes to blogs that people like Rudy Giuliani read. Sorry, you saw him, on Fox News last night reading this blog that no one's ever heard of. That sort of thing winds up on the desk of the president at the end of the day. Why? Because it's something that can serve him. It's something that can provide him an alternate narrative that makes it look like he won the election super cleanly, that this is, that he actually won, with a popular vote. So that's the innocent explanation of this, but that's how it goes. That's how it travels. This stuff starts in places where they know they're making it up, but it gets validated over time by other places that have really terrible sort of editorial oversight.
Ben Collins, thank you very, very much. We'll be reading your reporting for NBCNews.com entitled Trump Seized on a Conspiracy Theory Called the Insurance Policy. Now it's at the center of an impeachment investigation. Ben, thank you.
And let's just say again that they all know they're lying. And most Americans know they're lying, and they continue to do it anyway. Benjamin Wittes, let me bring you in. What a week it was last week.
We never got to Rick Perry made me do it.
Well, we saw this weekend, speaking of conspiracy theories, the Rick Perry made me do it conspiracy theory. I mean, maybe Sean Spicer can suggest that because of his run on Dancing with the Stars. But for Donald Trump to blame Rick Perry for his Ukraine call, of course, once again, not backed up by any facts. He's just desperately throwing anybody under the bus that he can. So where are we as the week starts?
So, it's an interesting question. The layers of defense here from it's a beautiful call, it's a perfect call, to Rick Perry made me do it and I didn't even want to have it. And, also it's all made up by the Democrats. It's a witch hunt. One of the interesting things that we start the week with is a kind of confusion about where the White House is in its efforts to defend this. Is the basic argument that it didn't happen. Well, that can't be the argument because we have the White House call memo. Is the basic argument that this is what U.S. foreign policy should be like? Or is the basic argument that there's sort of something, kind of, it was somebody else's fault, whatever it was? And I think, the White House actually is having trouble settling on a defense.
Yeah, and that is interesting, Jay Caruso. So, Benjamin's right. It started with, it's hearsay. It didn't happen. I mean, Lindsey, who's supposed to know the law, who's running the Judiciary Committee, you can't, it's hearsay. I mean, that was their first stupid argument, which isn't backed by law.
And there's no quid pro quo.
Well, I'm getting to that. And then the second is a perfect call. Then the third was there was no quid pro quo, which, Jay, you undercut pretty quickly. Then the fourth was, well, yes, there was a quid pro quo, but that's just how you do foreign diplomacy. And then there was a fifth and a sixth and a seventh iteration. And now we have fallen on the last refuge for the truly desperate. Rick Perry made me do it.
Yeah, and that's this kind of thing, this narrative that starts with the denial, then the, okay, we did it, but it was no big deal. Well, it wasn't as bad as what you said it was. Then it was like, well, this is what's wrong with me rooting out corruption. His defenders will do that as well. And then it goes to, blaming Rick Perry. And then you have Mike Pompeo out there saying, well, this is how foreign policy is done. It's transactional. You do this kind of thing. And it's like, I don't recall all the other times when presidential candidates were asking foreign governments to open investigations into their political opponents. I don't remember that being a tenet of foreign policy. And, you always go back to the, what if Obama did it? Can you imagine in 2011 if we found out that Barack Obama had asked a foreign government to investigate Mitt Romney? Republicans would have went berserk, and rightly so. And so this is the kind of thing that it just drives me crazy, is that not only will some Republicans not say it's wrong, they won't even say it's inappropriate. They get to the point where they're defending it and then saying this is perfectly fine, and it's just absurd.
No, it is. It's completely absurd, Jay, and also absurd. Everything that the Republicans are throwing at the wall are absurd. Donald Trump's numbers keep going down. People supporting impeachment keep going up. We even heard just a minute ago, Benjamin Wittes, about the insurance policy. Tell us about this insurance policy conspiracy theory where Donald Trump once again desperately doing the bidding of Vladimir Putin.
So I'm so glad you asked that question, because there are certain very far reaches of the conspiracy webs where I actually show up in the insurance policy conspiracy theory. And the reason is that shortly before the 2016 election, I wrote a blog post on Lawfare in which I referred to an insurance policy against Trump's election, or in favor of the protection of democracy. And it turned out, unbeknownst to me, that a man that I'd never heard of at the time, Pete Strzok, also had used the phrase insurance policy in a text message. And when those text messages were released, a whole lot of people noticed, I don't know why, that the rather common term insurance policy showed up both in a piece by me and in a text message by Pete Strzok. And this has driven a whole lot of suggestion that I am somehow involved in the insurance policy conspiracy. And what actually that conspiracy consists of, I've never really known. And what the nature of my involvement in it, I've never really known either.
And of course, now you have poor Ron Johnson making a fool of himself on Meet the Press, talking about Pete Strzok.
Pete Strzok.
Again.
Just out of nowhere.
Again.
Let's just bring it up.
This is the there's the bird. Look at the bird. Look at the bird. Don't look at the facts in front of you about Ukraine. And he starts reading notes like,
anything not
why aren't we talking about Peter Strzok? I mean, come on, dude. Do you seriously? You're a United States senator and you're acting that way?
That was hard.
I mean, you know what happened is he got in trouble probably, most likely, because he accidentally told the truth to the Wall Street Journal.
Right.
A lot of people accidentally telling the truth to the
Got
Wall
to
Street
cover
Journal.
that up.